Now, MCQ 34, we're looking at defining the term a transgenic plant. Now, really just to break down the term transgenic, it's really the insertion of a foreign gene that did not actually belong to the organism that it was inserted in. So the real original syllabus portion of a transgenic itself was actually seen in a transgenic bacteria, whereby we're taking the human insulin gene. So you can see that the origin of this human insulin gene actually comes from, as the name suggests, human. It's being inserted into E. coli. So E. coli is actually a bacteria, and with the insertion of this into another species here, E. coli now possesses another species gene here from human, and it has gained the ability to produce insulin. So this is now no longer what we call as a wild type E. coli, which is a natural E. coli, but otherwise referred to as a transgenic E. coli. So this is a very, very primitive and fundamental basis of genetic engineering, the transfer of genes. So back towards question 34 here, how do we get transgenic plants? Number one, cross-fertilizing two different species of plant. This seems to be plausible because if there are two different species of plants, there will be a mixing of gene. Now, again, although this is plausible, it really depends whether is the cross-fertilization actually possible. So in context, an apple plant as well as a pear plant, they are still plant per se, but they might not be able to cross-fertilize because the number of chromosomes in their gametes might be different and therefore cannot result in a diploid offspring. So B, exposing an adult plant to a substance that causes mutation. Now, mutation itself is actually defined by changes in sequence of bases in DNA. So this does not introduce a new gene, but it modifies the current genes. So B itself is going to be wrong. For part C here, the insertion of a section of DNA from one plant species into the cells of another species. Now this seems to be largely accurate, except that if let's say the original intention was to get a plant, it should be the DNA from another species into the cells of a plant. So the word plant as well as the word another should have swapped position to give rise towards a transgenic plant definition that we wanted. And for option D here, we do see the transferring of chromosome from one plant species to another. Now this seems to be a much better answer. The source of the gene does not really matter, but we need to make sure that it terminates over at a plant so that we get a transgenic plant. So between option A as well as option D, option A, we have talked about the possibility that the fertilization cannot really happen if the plant themselves are radically different. Like a pear and an apple plant, it's very unlikely that they can fertilize each other gamete. So a better answer here for 34 will be option D.